The So Mark, thanks for joining us and taking the time. This is awesome and it's a treat. We're going to record it for the other registrants,
Yeah, sure.
so that they have access. And then during the convention, I've just input the schedule. I shared the schedule with everybody and input it. But we've got you doing a Plan Orange, teach and play, but fundamentally matching people up so they can play Plan Orange under your supervision. The other thing that's going to happen is you're going to play a couple of people at least one-on-one together, right?
Yeah, I'll do one of my simuls. And so the only two things I would say is I'll kind of, at least to this crowd, I'll give you some things. It'll be in the recording, and I'll send you something that you can post. I figured out how to do all this. I actually spent a bunch of time. It's funny. Empire of the Sun and Plan Orange are like 98% the same, but the 2% is not inconsequential, at least from, I've been playing, I had 2 10-hour flights, as Joe was pointing out, in my epic adventure around the world. And I was playing Empire of the Sun Vassal on the plane, 10 hours, I could watch a couple of movies and still more time to go. So I was playing Empire of the Sun. So I was really deeply into, I know how to play Empire of the Sun. And I'm looking at this, I'm going, wait a minute, I'd forgotten so many little nuances, which I'm now up on again. So in fact, what you can't see really, because it's over my shoulder, but the game setup, physical game setup over there, because I like physical games with, real cards.
Well, the good news, Mark, is if you screw something up, nobody's going to challenge you.
Actually, I have found that that's not true. There's some people who really read the rules recently and they know how to play.
Yes.
No, I've been caught.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got, we're going to have that event. Mark, you're going to be at the convention Saturday, I believe, right?
Well, no,
Sunday.
I'm going to be there Friday night. You'll see me Friday night.
Okay, good.
No, the only thing is I wasn't going to be there in time for the
tours.
Walk around.
Yeah.
But I guess there's an evening session on Friday. I will definitely be at that evening session on Friday.
Yeah, the museum opens at 4:00, I believe, on Friday. So we'll
so what I'm going to do is I'll drive over. I'll drive in from Westchester and get myself in a hotel, and I'll be I know where, and I'll get on. And they gave me I heard that I got my clearance to come on the base now finally, so I'm good.
Yeah, that's good news. We were unsure for a while. But
yeah, well, I mean, technically, I'm still a Naval War College professor. I actually checked. I'm still carried on their books.
That's awesome. So we got that. Look forward to seeing you at the con Friday night and Saturday. You're also you've already told me you're coming to the November San Diego Historical Games.
That's a definite. Oh yeah. In fact, June, June, of course. She's already making plans. So we're.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you in November. So with that, Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you. Feel free to talk about whatever you'd like. I think we had Peter Pellegrino from the War College last week, and he was great, but he just kind of talked about wargaming. He didn't talk much about Plan Orange. And then I know we're going to have some tours Saturday and Sunday where we'll be able to see some of those facilities where they did some of that gaming. And he mentioned that going over
that would be good.
So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll be here if you need help, but I'm going to turn off my screen.
All right. So hi guys. I mean, I think I know everybody here, right? Yeah, I know everybody here. So it's good to see you all again, and I look forward to seeing you at least at the next 2 cons or so. But so it's in the actual. I know. First of all, I don't know how to do this as a show of hands, but has anybody here played Plan Orange before? Is that a yes? Dennis, no. Joe is not on, so I can't tell. Andrews shook his head, no. Okay, so nobody's played it. Has anybody played Empire of the Sun? Let me start with that. Is that it? Oh, we got thumbs up. All right, that's. I'll assume that you don't know anything, but I'll do my best. It's obviously, and what I'll say is that the motivation for this was, and it goes back to the War College. So I used to be I was an active Naval War College professor teaching the strategy and policy class in the offsite. I taught in this naval facility up in Maryland back in the day, and it's a really cool course, by the way. And and that's by the way one of the case studies of the Peloponnesian War, and another case study is in fact, the interwar years leading into World War II and all that kind of good stuff. And I used to go to the War College often in the summer for a Secretary of Defense had a summer study, and I would often be there. And one day, it was like I used to swim at noon. I had the privilege to go swim there, and I was swimming with SEAL Team 6 guys. Very embarrassing. They're like animals, but I'm swimming laps in there, and I came out and I was hungry, so I wasn't going to get a chance to go off base to get food because I was just too far away from everything. So that somebody said there's a vending machine room over there, not too far away. So I went over to this vending machine room, and it's kind of a dingy room and had a bunch of vending machines. But as I'm getting my food, I look up and there's this weird upper level gallery that looks down on this really weird mosaic floor. And I realize that I'm actually in the room where you've seen all the pictures of Plan Orange being played out you've seen pictures of Plan Orange being played out, I'm sure somewhere in your life. I was in that room. It was then a vending machine room. And I went up in the gallery and I'm looking down. It was just like a crazy revelation. So I was kind of always, that was just sort of this moment where I said, I got to do a game on this someday. And I've always been fascinated about the U.S. treaty fleet. In other words, the fleet that we built because of the Washington naval treaties that went on from, up through 1936, where this is where we got rid of, you're only allowed so many tons of battleships and et cetera. And there was all these limitations on the ships. And then there's this guy named Bywater who wrote this book called The Great Pacific War, which he wrote in the 20s, but it was about a scenario in the 30s. And so I've had all these influences. And so I was talking to Roger one time, and he said, hey, you got a game in you for the magazine. I said, well, I really just wanted to do this game. And again, one of the advantages of doing a game with Roger is I don't have to, I don't need permission. I don't need a P500. Roger and I says go for it, and I'm done. And so that's what happened with this game, and it happened very quickly. And so it's an Empire of the Sun variant. It is appropriate. It uses the exact mechanics of Empire of the Sun with the obvious, what I'll call technology changes. The planes are not as good, obviously, and all that kind of stuff. And aircraft. And what's interesting, by the way, is in Plan Orange, you actually get the entire Japanese and U.S. air, land, and sea order of battle. There's nothing left out. I mean, everything's in there. Every single division and corps and everything, every ship is all in there. So, because remember, the military wasn't that big in the 1930s. And so you have the whole thing. And so the scenario is that, and it's written in the beginning of the rules, is there was an actual Shanghai incident. And what ended up happening was, there was a lot of fighting. And if we look here, I think there's a way to you see the cursor, I'm circling Shanghai. The red unit on top is Chiang Kai-shek's, there you go, 19th Route Army. And the Japanese had sent in these Marines who were actually having a hard time of it until the Japanese started shelling the city with their ships that were in the Yangtze River there. And the real crisis was resolved by the League of Nations. There was an armistice signed, everybody kind of backed off, but there was a lot of destruction and a lot of civilians got killed. And, it was a typical situation of 1932 when this happened. So all I did was I just said that the armistice broke down or it didn't happen, and that the Japanese executed their version of, remember, we had Plan Orange how to relieve the Philippines. Well, they had a war plan how to take the Philippines and dominate the Western Pacific. So this is a game about what both sides were thinking about in 1932 about how they were going to dominate the Western Pacific and how we were going to maintain our line of communication and access to, and keep the Japanese off of the Philippines. That was really what this is all about. And so if you kind of look around the map, if you look here, you'll find out that, here's the famous Akagi and Kaga carriers. These are the first two of the big fleet carriers. And of course, these in a less than 10 years, are going to go bomb Pearl Harbor. If you remember Empire of the Sun, so what I did here, which is different than Empire of the Sun, is these are actual the BB units, the Issei, the Fuso, the Nagato, represent two actual battleships. Each step is one battleship. Whereas in Empire of the Sun, these pieces are amalgamated with cruisers and destroyers to become the Nagato BB unit. So this is like, if you want to know what the Nagato BB unit is, it's these 6 battleships plus, auxiliaries. And there's the Hosho, which was the first Japanese carrier. And so you get all this kind of cool stuff going on. And then, of course, most of the planes in this period are biplanes. You can see the image, the silhouette that Mark Simonich came up with for this. And at this point, the Hai and the Haruna are battle crews. They haven't been upgraded really to battleship. They do some refits in this period, so they become a little bit better armored, a little slower. But right now, they're really battle cruisers a la Jutland. And remember, in this period, what people are studying is Jutland. Jutland is the big battle of record in 1932, and what they study, in this period. So both sides are looking at Mahan and and how this is meant to be as the U.S. comes across, the Japanese are trying to attrit the fleet. They know the U.S. is going to come across the Pacific, and they want to attrit them, but they want to have this big battle line, battleship on battleship engagement like Tsushima Straits, and that's what what they're planning on. So that's sort of the context of the situation. And one of the things that's very different about this game than Empire of the Sun is their strategic display. So, and I've already taken I've set this up already so that we could. But basically, if you go here, you'll see this is the Western Fleet, and a very important piece here is we'll talk about this U.S. fleet train. So basically, we don't have the advanced amphibious ships of what that'll start to be developed over the next less than that next 5-6 years. You've got there's the Pennsylvania and the Arizona. Of course, the Arizona will be killed at Pearl Harbor, and so on and so forth. And there's the Maryland and West Virginia. So these are all the ships that will ultimately be at in Pearl Harbor in the near future, in December 1941. This is 1932, so it's again just about a decade later. The Japanese have gained control of most of these German protector. The German colonies became the Japanese got them at Versailles. If you ever played my Versailles game that Jeff and I did, you'll see some cards and issues that were raised by all of that. And the U.S. defenses of by the way, the Marblehead was the centerpiece of the U.S. Asiatic fleet and was in Manila, in December 1941. This was one of the ships that was there for the Java Sea and all that kind of good stuff. And what's also cool, if you look, there's a railroad gun that we didn't have that in 1941, but there was a railroad gun, so I had to put that in the game. Come on, a railroad gun. The other cool piece, by the way, is there was an experiment with a dirigible aircraft carrier called the Macon. You see it there, that blue one? So that's kind of cool. They were both destroyed in storms between this period of time and World War II. But they actually could drop these little fighter planes, took off out of them, and then the plane had to fly up and it had to hook on so they could pull them back in again. It was kind of cool. So anyway, we actually had, so that's, there's a reason to do the game just by itself, actually. And of course, you got the Panama Canal, which is open in this case, but the Japanese had a capability to close it. They had plans for that. So that's the basic. And by the way, Dutch Harbor, again, remember, this is an equal area map. You realize that the reason the Japanese in World War II went to Attu and Kiska was, these are misbegotten places, but they were concerned about us coming this way down the Kuriles and into Japan. This is actually the shortest route to Japan, except the weather stinks up here, obviously. But Dutch Harbor was always something that bothered the Japanese because it's so close. And so that's something that you don't get in a Mercator projection, that particular. And of course, in this period, Funafuti down here is also another base. And if you look at the strategic display, the 3 ways you get onto the map from this, from the street is Dutch Harbor, Oahu, and Funafuti. So these are your 3 entry points into the map. And in the game, by the way, once you leave the strategic display, you can't go back. I just didn't want to deal with the amount of rules that solve that problem, and there's no purpose to it. So anyway, once you get onto the map, you're on the map. And there's a whole mobilization because the fleet, there's stuff that wasn't mobilized yet, and destroyers, mothball destroyers, and all this kind of stuff. So you have to mobilize these brigades. These are National Guard brigades, and you have to mobilize airplanes and all sorts of stuff. So again, that's part of this game, which is kind of different than Empire of the Sun, obviously. So let's talk about the basic structure of Plan Orange and Empire of the Sun, but I'll just keep using the word Plan Orange. It is a card-driven game, as we all have heard that term before, I'm sure. And what's going to end up happening is players, again, turn one, I'm going to describe as a little bit, as any game, I have a little bit of a process to start turn one, but ultimately you get a hand of cards, 5 cards, and Americans always, after the first turn, the Americans always have the initiative, so you don't deal with that in like you do in Empire of the Sun. There's some variations there, and you play a card, and that allows you to do either it's either some kind of military or moving forces around kind of thing, or it could be a political event that has some other purpose, or it could be a mobilization event. But ultimately, you're playing a card. When you resolve whatever you did with that card, then the other player plays a card back and forth. Okay. Now, and then there are things, we will see them. I'll draw a couple of hands later. There are reaction cards that sometimes allow you, these are surprise attacks. The only way to resolve, respond to a surprise attack is to have an intelligence card. Otherwise, let me just describe a card first. Okay, so the first thing is, you'll note is that the upper left-hand corner is a 3. 3 is the highest value, and think of it as time and motion. So naval units can move 15 hexes, ground units have 3 movement points, airplanes can go 3 hops from airbase to airbase that's within range, all that kind of stuff. And it is also, regardless of what the reaction player does, that number holds for both sides. So no matter what cards they play, that 3, or it could be a 2, or it could be a 1, is the thing that defines the amount of motion that will occur before you have combat. So again, 3 is a long-range operation. And unlike a lot of CDGs, and something that's been commented on very positively, in most CDGs, when you get a low-value card, the card is a weak card, which is almost, but in Empire of the Sun, a 1 card can be often very powerful, because if I'm close to my objective and I play a 1 card, you can't react. You have to react to where I'm fighting. So if I'm only going to go 5 hexes and fight something, and you're 10 hexes away, you can't react. So 1 card can be one of the most powerful cards. And also, you'll note right here at the top of the card, so you have the 3, and you see it says OC and an EC. What it's telling you is that if you play the card for the event, it's there's no ability in this case, so that there's a dash there to respond to it except with a card. So there is no intelligence die roll. But if you play just for the 3, which you're allowed to do, and some reason you sometimes do that is some cards have restrictions if you play it as an event, and when you play it as a value, you don't get any restrictions. What you get is a limitation on how many battles you can cause. So with a military event like this, you can cause as many battles as you have pieces moving around, whereas when you play it for the OC value, you only get 1 battle. So you only can have 1 objective, which then limits, how much coordinated cool stuff you can do, but it takes away all restrictions. And if you play it as an OC, the enemy player can still play an intelligence card, but if they don't have one, they can roll a die, and if they roll 3 or less, they can react. So it's a 40% chance. And if you are if you're within the envelope of an enemy air unit, they get another -2. So in that case, if you're moving close to enemy air power, you could get basically a 5 or less, which is 60%. But on a 1 card, this is only like I think it's a 1. So it's only a 20% chance. And so you can actually get a surprise attack often out of a 1 card, a short range operation. So there's a lot of value in 1 cards, is all I'm take away that point. Now, the way you activate units is you have a logistics value. So an event has a logistics value. This one has a value of 8. This one has a value of 6. If you play it as an EC, the logistics value is the value of the card. And the number of units you can activate is the value plus the HQ efficiency rating. But in this particular, now in Empire of the Sun, there's HQs with 1s, 2s, and 3s. So 3 plus 3 would be 6. 8 plus 3 would be 11. But in this particular scenario, there's only one HQ per side, and they only have a value of 1. So effectively, all these numbers are. So when you activate this, you get 9 activations, you get 7 activations, you get 4 activations. So it's just one more because the HQs are, the staff work and all that stuff is not as impressive. So now, what is the basic sequence? So what happens in the beginning of this game is the Japanese start with 2 cards, and for those who want to play in, against me or even against an opponent, the way the first turn goes is the Japanese are going to play these 2 cards, and they're both surprise attack cards. So basically, since the US in this case, there is no allies, it's just the US. Because the US doesn't have any cards in their hand, they can't unsurprise attack it. So this is a surprise attack, and you just kind of get beat up. And so what's fun is I'm going to play in Newport. I'm going to play the Americans. So this way, we'll put the word out. Everybody can practice what they want to do with these first 2 cards. So you come in with a plan, and that'll hopefully, move things along. Then after the Japanese play these 2 cards, finish them out, the US draws 2 cards, and the Japanese draw 1 more random card. Now we're just drawing cards. So the Americans get 2 cards, the Japanese will get 1 more card. Then the Americans play a card, the Japanese play a card, the Americans finish up with a card, and that ends the first turn. Thereafter, you're going to get 5 cards each, and the Americans are going to go first. So it'll be Americans play a card, Japanese play a card, et cetera, until all cards are done. That's basically how a game turn goes. And the game only has, as we go here, let me close this out for a second. The game only has 6 turns because I basically I figured in this period, remember, unconditional surrender is, off in the future. And the United States has 2 years to try to resolve this, is basically. So there's a little bit of a, you can't drag your feet. You got to kind of get to it. And so that's how the game is going to start. And so what I'm going to do at this point is I'm actually going to play out one of these cards. And before I go further, see you all in August, if not before. Does anybody have any questions before I go to the actual play of the card? I'm looking at the chat, so if you want to say something, just type it up there while I sort this out. Okay, so we'll take this card, we'll put it on the board. So
these are earlier aircraft, so the ZOI is not as big, right?
Yes, I will. I was going to cover that, but yes. So in Empire of the Sun, the ZOI is 2 hexes. Here it's only 1.
1. Okay.
Yeah, it's 1 for everybody. So you'll see that there's a lot bigger gaps between bases and all this kind of stuff. And that, by the way, what you just pointed out, the product is what, like, the biggest difference between playing Empire of the Sun and playing Orange is that 1 hex difference is a big deal.
No,
You'll notice it right away. Also, these planes are not, these are not SBD, Devastator dive bombers or Kates. These are biplanes. They have bombs, but this is very primitive sites. And what you'll see in the cards, how I handle the decks, I'll talk about that in a little bit. But that's a great question. And I'll try to catch other, the other difference, of course, there's no strategic display in Empire of the Sun. You just get the whole thing. And stacking is doubled here. In other words, whereas Empire of the Sun, you can only have 3 air and ground units in the same hex and 6 naval units. Here it's doubled to 6 and 12. So that's the difference, because the naval units represent less ships physically, because I wanted you to see this Jutland-like battle at the end. So that was part of the thing. Now, what happens is, now the card says any HQ, but there's only 1. So it's, you're not going to be confused. It's this one right here. It has a range of 20. See it right here? It's a range of 20, and it has an efficiency rating of 1. Like, as I said, in Empire of the Sun, you have HQs that are 1s, 2s, and each side has a couple of 1 or 2 3s. Here, there's only 1 HQ per side, and they're both 1s, so it doesn't have the same impact as it does in Empire of the Sun, how you choose which HQ to use for efficiency. But so we get 9 activations. And the victory condition ultimately is, there are several, but the main one is who controls the Philippines at the end is the winner. You can win the game also by dominating the Pacific with battleship ratio, and you can isolate Japan from from the Asian mainland. But fundamentally, it's either going to be the Philippines or a big Jutland-like battle, and somebody has the battleship ratio to dominate the Western Pacific, and they win the game. So often, what you find in this game is that the Americans are not doing well, or they're behind the 8 ball. If the Japanese feel like the Americans are about to take the Philippines, you get Jutland. And I would say that my own personal experience is at least a little bit, the majority of the games, a little bit more than half of the games are going to end often in a battleship slug out, which is pretty much what they planned on doing historically, but that was their doctrine of the time. So there it is. So let me just sort of, and again, I'm doing this quickly. This is one of those great, if you remember the old Avalon Hill perfect plans, you can in fact spend an entire afternoon on a Sunday trying to figure out the best way to execute these 2 cards. So if nothing else, have a good time doing that. And the Vassal module has all this. The one defect in the Vassal module, which I dealt with by doing it, is I have to talk to Francisco, but you have to go find the card number 1 and number 2, because they don't have an automatic feature. I had to draw cards until I found them, pulled it aside, and then I put all the cards back into the deck after I found them. So that's the only annoying thing with the module, but we'll get that. Now that I know that's an annoying thing, I'll talk to Francisco. But other than that, you start with cards 1 and 2 automatically. And you can, as I said, you can kind of build your own perfect plan. So the main thing that you should note is ranges. The US HQ is a range of 30. That means it can turn on and activate and run things 30 hexes away, and pretty much that puts them in range of the Philippines. However, you're not in range of the Philippines if the Japanese have basically clogged up airplanes into all these places. Because in other words, as you try to zink around these ZOIs, you'll be out of range. You'll fall short, or you come pretty close to falling short, especially if they hold like Leyte and they have an air zone up. That's the trick here is to make the Americans not be within range. And so taking Guam is important, and as is taking Wake and Midway. And by the way, the Pan American used to have a flying boat service. They used to go from Oahu to Midway to Wake to Guam to the Philippines. And so you're literally looking at an air transportation route that was used in the period for, if you wanted to go to the Philippines and you wanted to fly there instead of taking a ship, that's how you would go. And that's why when they attacked Wake Island, there were all these contractors. They were building a hotel. They were building better facilities for travelers on Wake, and they had civilian contractors there. When the war started, and those are the guys who they didn't do too well. Japanese were not very good with prisoners. Anyway, continuing on. So let's just quickly. So I'm going to activate. So the way the turn starts, you play a card, you declare whether you're playing it as an OC or a military bank. Of course. Why would you do it? You could, but why would you do it otherwise? So you're going to get 1, you get any HQ, you only have 1. We're going to activate 9 units, which is 8 plus the 1 on the HQ. It's in a surprise attack, and this red arrow, which is in the rules, tells you that surprise attack, and there's no way for the allies to change it because an EC doesn't have an intelligence die roll, you need a card. Plus, you get 3 temporary ASPs or amphibious shipping points. So first thing is, any division or brigade costs 1 amphibious shipping point to move the unit. A army, like this one here, the Formosa unit, takes 1 ASP per step. So if we want to move this, and this is the main invasion guide, the Southern Expeditionary Army, which we're going to use to invade the Philippines, we have to use 2 ASPs for that. And when you always have 2 in this scenario, but we get 3 more. So we have 5 ASPs. So we can do some stuff here, and these don't last beyond the card. Another question people said is, does this card go out of the game? It goes into this card, and you will often get at least 1, what do you call it? Reshuffle of the deck. And there's 24 cards on each side. 6 turns times 5. Well, taking out the first, but 6 turns times 5 turns times 5 is 25. So we're going to reshuffle the deck at least once, unless somebody's won the game automatically earlier than that. So there will be 1 reshuffle of the deck in a game, typically. I mean, always, basically. So first off, we're going to activate, I eventually want to get let's see, toggle activation. Here we go. So we're going to activate the Alminato, and mostly I'm going to definitely take the ground unit, and we're going to take. And by the way, these two ASPs can only be used once. You know, like you get them back every turn, but you only get them. So we have a total. We know in the first turn, because of the two cards, we're going to get 3 temporary ASPs here. We're going to get 2 ASPs from the next card. That's 5. And we have 2, so we can move 7 division equivalents, let's call it, in the first turn. That's the most important thing to remember about what's going on here. So that's 2. I like to use this division, and you'll see why. And what is this unit? Let me see here. I'm just going to pull these apart so I can find. Okay, we definitely want the Haruna. Okay, we want the high, not so much. We'll take the Nachi. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hit the cow. And by the way, we're going to need a carrier. So we're going to take the Kaga. And by the way, the reason we can activate these guys is they're all within range of the HQ, 20, and there's no there's no enemy unit between us and them, so you don't really have to, there are ways to block this, but not in this situation. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and yeah, we're gonna stick with 7. I get 2 more. Hang on. 8. And I want to keep that carrier back there. Hang on. We're gonna take we'll take a big battleship. You'll see why. Okay. So now we have activated our units. And after you act, and one of the things that people get, I think I've said follow the sequence of play at least 10,000 times in my board game geek career. And that's not even an exaggeration. Every time, so all timing issues in Empire of the Sun that you think are a timing issue don't exist if you follow the sequence of play. I can guarantee you that after 15 years of answering questions, I haven't been wrong once. So again, if you find yourself going, does this happen before that? Just go step by step until you really get it down. So first you activate. Don't like, I activate the guy and move him, and then you start going, you start getting all sorts of crazy. But if you know the game well, you can pull that kind of stuff off. But if you don't know the game well, just take a deep breath and just follow the sequence of play. So these guys are all activated now. I think we said 9, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we got 9. Now, 3 card. See the movement chart? 3OC, land units. Well, when land units move amphibiously, they move like naval units. So everybody can move, see that, 15 hexes, okay? Air units can go 3 hops, and all the air units I think have ranges. I think there's a couple of bombers, but everybody has basically a range of 4. So if you try to go further than 4, a hop, just because you can go 3 hops, you don't triple the range. You have to land each time, right? You have to take off land, take off land, take off land. So that's important. So the first thing we're going to do is there is and there's a way to turn these on. I think I'm going to do that. COI, yeah, set ZOI on. Okay. So now you can see where the air units have ZOIs. Now you'll note the purple. So the American 20th Pursuit Group and the Yokosuka, Naval Air Unit they neutralize each other here. Now these are Japanese. This is American ones that are unneutralized. You can see that, and so we can't sail this transports into this zone without air cover, and so sequencing matters. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to send the Kaga forward, and it can go 15 hexes. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See all that? I hope 6, 7, 8, 9. I've done this before. 10, and this is the place to put it. 11. Note that we've now neutralized the ZOI. We have a path in now, you see, and I could have put it over here and it would have done something similar. I just happen to like it over here, but that's just a taste thing. So now this unit,
You have to declare battle hex at this point?
No, oh yes, and this guy is attacking Clark Air Base. You're correct. And in fact, we're going to do. Thank you, Product. Product obviously knows how to play the game because he's. So let me see how they do this. I think
The one rule I always get, yeah, it's the tricky.
we'll do this properly. No, you're 100% right. So the reason a naval unit can't just stop anywhere, it has to be doing something. So it's either landing at a port or it's attacking somebody at sea. It doesn't get to sit around. You don't get to block things without doing something. So that's our initial airstrikes on Clark Base are coming from the Kaga. We are then going to send this division amphibiously, and we're going to go here. A reason we can do that, there's nobody there, and these guys could technically maybe react into that location, and we're going to roll for a battle hex. But the answer is we but because this guy's being bombed, we've more or less blocked out any route to get to them other than a naval one, which we're going to solve that in a second, you'll see. So now we're going to send, sure. So wait.
You're doing a demo.
No,
I think you've got to go out.
I got her. Hello, babe. So we have a guest star. Apparently, my daughter's got to walk the dog. This is Claire, and this is her first war game demo. You're doing great, Bubby. Okay, so now, hi, how are you doing? Okay, yeah. Okay, so now we're going to send the Nachi to attack the Marblehead. That is going to be battle D, and I've learned how to do this. Watch this. Woohoo!
Nice.
Learned that one yesterday. So now nobody is going to be able to come up and interfere with this guy. There's no more naval units around that can come in. And if by the way, the Marblehead was able to go here, this guy would be repulsed without a naval support, which I'm not going to bother doing now because they can't go anywhere. Then the Takao and the Akatsuki is we're going to bombard these guys. But however, we're also, I want to be looking forward, and we're going to send, where's that guy? Here he is. We're going to send this group here, and we're going to generate battle C. So again, what's important is you don't have to, you should, and because I'm playing this as an event, I get to have as many battle hexes as I want. So right now I've created 3 battle hexes, A, B, and C. And then, hello, how are you doing? And look at the Southern Expeditionary Army is invading Clark Base. Isn't that exciting? Oh, yes. And the Haruna is, I think I'll send the Haruna over here also. We really want to blast that air. If we can get that air unit out, that's going to be an advantage. And the Ominato guy is also able, he's got a range of 4. And so he can, excuse me, he has a range of 3. 4 is his defense strength. So it's attack, defense, and range. And so we're going to throw him also into battle A. So we got battle A, we got battle B, we got battle C. So you'll note that we activated the units. We moved, if we enter a jet, we can either by air attack them within range, or we move a piece into it, we create battle hexes. Okay. Now, if this was not a surprise attack, or we had an intelligence card, we could now respond to these things if they're within range of an HQ. But because, oh, hello. Because the HQ's got a 30 range, we could probably react to some of these technically, although the problem is you can only react if you can get somebody in there. So I think this is more than 15 hexes. See, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, yeah. So even though it's within range of the HQ, we can't send anybody unless they can get here. And so it's just too far away. So it wouldn't matter. But anyway, there's no reaction in this case. And so now we go to basically, and if the Allies had like a submarine card or all that kind of, you'd play it at this time, either activating units or just playing a reaction events like submarines and that kind of jazz. But we're not doing any of that. So we're now going to have battle. Before I go to battles, he's gamed out all possible babysitting scenarios. That's funny. So how are you doing? Yeah, this is exciting, right? Look at all these nice men here looking at you. So any questions before I go to battle, the actual battles? Anyone? I'm watching the chat, or you can speak up if you want. Okay.
Oh, sorry, what, the sequence?
Before I do battles, is there anything you want to ask before I get to the battles here? You know, the activation, the moving, the reacting,
So
anybody?
is the idea that you leave the US units on the sort of southern Philippines sort of to trit away?
No, so the answer is, remember, I'm gonna get another card. To
Oh, I
play.
see. Got
I
it.
get two cards in a row, and I want to be clear, I don't know that this is the best way to do it, Praddock. I'm
Okay,
just,
all right.
I'm demonstrating. I know guys who I have seen, you could with 5 ASPs get somebody ashore at Leyte and Davao also. I've seen that kind of play. I like sure things, but
Sure.
because one of the things that could happen here is if I get this showing, oh, hang on, that's a little tricky. Yeah, see, one thing I found is that, let me see if I can do it this way. If I move this off, I think it'll show me, where's, hang on. For some reason, it won't show. So we look at the Allied unit. So there's a 3-4, the Philippine Scouts are here, right? Now, the Philippine Scouts, because it's amphibious, are going to get a +3 to the die roll. And even with an 8, this guy is going to take him out. But the point is that if somebody reacted in, so if, you know, the question is, you know, I'm just looking for sure things. I want to make sure this air unit goes away because this is the only air unit in the Philippines.
Right.
And so I'd like to be sure that it dies if I can help it. Otherwise, I have to deal with it. And so if we look at the actual values, I got a 4 here, right? I've got a 2 here, so that's 6. And 6 and 15, who can help me with that one? 6 and 15?
21.
21, very good. And again, that's one of the things I like about counters. So this guy's got a defensive attack of 4. So basically, it's a surprise attack. So I get to shoot him first. He doesn't get to respond. I might likely catch him on the ground, but I get a 21. So I'm going to roll a die. And I rolled a 3. Good. So the CRT, I'm very big on putting everything on the map, is right here. So we just rolled a 3, but it's a surprise attack, and you'll see that we get a +3 modifier. So we got a 6. So we basically hit that unit for, we got 21 hits. Okay. Oh, hello. Hello. Are we enjoying this game now? This Grandpa made this game. You're going to play when you get older. Okay. So this guy, first, we could give him 4 hits, flips him, right? And 4 more hits, eliminates him. Now, because there was an air unit, somebody in between, we don't get to hit the ground unit there, although we will get a die roll modifier in a second. Okay. Now, technically, we should do all the air naval combat before we do anything else, but I'm not, you know, it's pretty, I don't want to continue on this example. So now I've got 16. Let's get rid of this thing. 16 versus this Philippine Scouts. Because I have the only guy with naval and the only guy with air here now, because I killed the air unit, I get a +4, 2 for the naval and 2, I get a +4 to the die roll. He gets a +3 to the die roll because he's defending on a beach. My defense is halved, not a 12, it's a 6. So that's how he can hurt me. And but I get a +4, he gets a +3, and I'm halved on defense. So I'm going to roll first the Japanese die roll. And now, oh, that was a bad one. And he got a 6. That's very good. So this is an interesting situation. So the 0, which is the lowest, 0, 0, +4 is a 4. I get 16 hits on him, which will, 4 and 4 will kill this unit. However, a 6 + 3 is a 9. And if we look at the ground CRT, it's over here, you'll see that a 9 doubles his strength. So a 3 doubled is 6. I'm halves. This guy flips. He's eliminated. So we took losses. And by the way, not a lot of replacements in this game. So that was meaningful in and of itself. And that takes care of battle A. Any question before I go to battle B?
No.
Okay, we're all good. All right, so I'm just going to get rid of this. It's just in my way. So this attack was not meant to do a lot of damage. I just wanted to freeze this guy here. So it's an 8 plus a 3 to the die roll for the surprise attack. I got a 0 again, which is a half result, and half of 8 is 4. I do not damage the Marblehead. Since the Marblehead is not dead, he gets to shoot back even with a surprise attack, just not simultaneously. He rolls a 4, which again is another half result. I just know the CRT, and that's a 3. So nobody got hurt, but the answer is he was, he was fighting with the Nazi. He couldn't come and stop the invasions. And then lastly, we go to here, and what we've got here is we've got 16 and 7 is 23, and 4 is 27 versus 4 surprise attack. 4 plus 3 is a 7, and this guy is dead before he even shoots back, which is all I really wanted to accomplish there. So that was all the combat. And now there's what we call post-battle movement. You get post-battle movement, by the way, whether there's a battle or not, but there were battles. And so I'm going to get rid of this card now, just discard this. And what I like to do, so now let's talk strategically just for a moment. So as the Japanese, we know that eventually the Americans are going to come across the Pacific, and the Marshalls are not well defended, but we don't necessarily want to be in the Marshalls, but we might want to put our guys in. We got a really good location in Saipan. And so I like to, oh, what's the matter? I don't know. We're going to move these guys. Although I do like the battleship back. The battleships I keep back for now because they do matter in the victory conditions, and we don't want them getting, oh, what's the matter? And we'll take the Haruna back also. But we'll leave the Mitsuki there, and we will bring the Takao here. Again, we go as 15, right? It's 1, 2, 3. It's much less than 15. Oh, no, 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 no. And we're going to bring the Kaga. Actually, I'm going to bring the Kaga back to Okinawa just because I can. And, what happened here? Oh, I pulled this unit supposed to stay here. So now these units are changed Japanese control. So we control these now. And here comes her mother. Say goodbye. Say goodbye to all the nice men. Hello.
Oh, okay. Bye.
She obviously likes older men.
Oh yeah, I definitely adore her. Actually, she's quite amazing. That's Claire. It's my youngest of 4 grandchildren. She's only 6 months old. Good little girl though. She didn't cry once. See. And then the Ominato, get rid of this. This was activated, but he attacked here. But now I can fly him post battle move 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 hex range. And now look with the situation. So now I've pretty much isolated Luzon from the HQ, because the one thing you can't do with a HQ range, you can't trace through an unneutralized enemy air ZOI. So I've now basically isolated Luzon, and I've isolated Guam. Okay, so those 2 locations now, the Japanese have, let's think of it, have air superiority over those 2 locations, which will give me options in the next card. So that is what an offensive looks like. Any questions at this point? Because
No.
okay, so
Mm.
what would then happen is the Japanese will play, and I think I'll run through this one quickly. Let's see if I can. So a product. Hey, you there?
Yep.
All right, you tell me, what should I do with this card now? Audience, let me just clean up the movement. And there's a way to deactivate everybody. Let me see. I think this one does it.
So now it's a whole new turn, right? The US.
No, there's a new card. Remember the way this particular game
new
starts, you get to
card,
play
sorry.
2 cards in a row.
Yeah.
It's a new round, not a new.
Round. Sorry. Yeah.
So I got 7 activations,
Right.
and I can do anything I want. Now we can ignore right now. Guam's kind of neutralized. We don't have to worry about Guam too much at the moment. Let's see if we can't take Leyte and Davao now. And remember, we've got 2 temporary ASPs, and we did not use our 2 regular. We got 4 ASPs. How would you like to do this?
Presumably we should just use all 4.
Oh yeah, we should use them all. I'll pre-use them just to.
Yeah, so you have the
I think this should be a way. Anyway. Oh, I know what happens. Hang on. The way this one works is, I don't know. I don't know why it's not. But if I do that, yeah, there's 0. Okay, that's how it works. So we're going to use those 2. So what units? So how am I taking Leyte and and Davo.
So you have the also open to recommendations from the
All right, I'll
audience, but the Formosa unit, the
Yep,
there's
we'll activate him. Good.
one there.
And now he's 2 of our 4, so that's half of our ASPs. We need one more.
2 of our 4. So
You can send the Western District Army if you like.
yep.
Good.
And then is there another? There's the one in South Korea.
Well, no, but remember, we've now used, this is 4 ASP.
Oh, okay, so-
we're done. That's all it's moving.
All right.
So we're gonna send. Well, we'll
So then-
construct this. So we got 2 guys. We get 5 more. So we're gonna want
I'll go again.
carrier, but we don't actually. Well, we should send a carrier anyway.
Yeah.
We can send both carriers if you want. You like that?
You might PVM them then afterwards to better location.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, so
So
we're gonna give us our precious aircraft carriers. Okay,
and then the big stack in
so
somewhere.
we could use these guys. I mean, we could use the Nachi, we can. So let's just say that each task force will have a carrier, some kind of bombardment group, right? And an invading guy, and then we have one more left over. So let's just try to put that together first. So we got 1, and who else we got over here? Okay, okay, we'll take the cat. Okay, so we've got 2. So let's just by just a historical note, you'll note the Japanese cruisers are pretty good. Why? They were cheating. A treaty cruiser of the period was supposed to be 10,000 tons, or 10,000 tons was the limit. All the Japanese cruisers that fought in, the famous cruisers of, the Iron Bottom Sound and all that, they're all somewhere coming in around 15,000, maybe even a little bit more when you're fully armed. When they got the long lances later on, remember the long lance. So the Japanese have been cheating on the treaty even here, and that's why their units are better, because they're basically 50% larger than they're supposed to be. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I would.
Yeah, you want to pull some units out of there to push them forward, right?
Well, what I want to do is I want to find an air unit. Okay, so we're going to send. Let's see if we can get an air unit. We want to fly another air unit into the situation. So let's see what we can pull off here. So movement wise, so first we're going to send our carriers in, right, to suppress the situation. So you will accept that 15 hexes is way more than where I'm.
Yeah.
I'm not going to count them out each time. We could go anywhere we want. I'm going to put the Kaga here, and I'm just going to put battle hex A and battle hex B, right? So
they're going to just bombard. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's gonna that allows the carrier to be there, and then we'll send the other carrier to here.
Right.
So now you see how that looks, and then we're sending the Nachi in to bombard here, the Takao to bombard here, and then we're sending this guy here, and actually, if I had my druther, yeah, that's fine. We'll send it this way. And lastly, we got this air unit. So he's gonna fly. So he gets 3 hops, right? He's not going to make it down there in 3 hops, but let's just go 1 hop, right? You'll see how slow these guys are. 2nd hop and 3rd hop. So It's going to take a while for this. I might be able to get him down to here, but not much better than that. So again, air power very different in Empire of the Sun. This will all be doubled in range, and they could get there pretty quick. But in here, much slower. The planes are just not as good, obviously. A biplane versus a modern monoplane, World War II monoplane. So now battles. So let's just quickly run through these. So I've got a 8 and a 4 is a 12. I rolled a 6. And because there's no air cover, I actually can hit the ground unit. And you can never eliminate a ground unit with air and naval alone, but we do get to flip this guy. So he's weaker. And this guy here is again is a 12 again, and we got we didn't do we'll get a 4, which is a half 6. Let's see what that will that do it. I think it might do it anyway. Yeah, 6 hits will flip them. So we flip both those guys. Now we have a ground combat. We'll do this one. We'll do A first. So we roll 9. Oh, a 9 is a double. So we got 16 hits. We only needed 4. he only got back,
This is
Now-
still surprise, right? So
what's that now?
it's still a surprise.
Yeah, the surprise gives me, yeah, but there's no,
Oh, not on the ground, right?
yeah, not on the ground, there's no surprise impact on the ground.
Yeah,
So, but this guy is still eliminated. We get rid of this thing. And consequently, we capture change Japanese control. And here we'll just get rid of this in my way. And rolling the other battle. 1 + 4 is a 5, which is all we needed to get him. And let's just see if he can get, yeah, he can't do anything. So this guy is eliminated. And then subsequently we have to do post-battle. Now this guy, let's see, now we're in post-battle movement. So this guy can go 1, 2, 3. So we can't get any closer. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the Akagi and the Kaga, let them base there for now. And you note that we've got the Philippines is totally, we haven't taken Manila yet. There's still some, but these guys are all cut off now.
Yeah.
And we've taken the Philippines. So we've basically met our, the basic victory condition has been met at this point in time. So any questions? And I'll just finish out what, let you see some, and then I'll just show you some of the cards. We good? Any
Yeah.
questions? All
That's
right. So we look at the Jap. So the Americans now get to finally draw 2 cards. So 1, oh, that's fun. 2. Okay, I'm glad I got this. So the American deck. So it's War Plan Orange, right? So the big military events in the American deck are the historic war plan. So this is War Plan of 1924, and this one. Oh, this one actually had better emphasis on grabbing small island bases and turning them into, they had this strategy about getting artillery adjacent to some of these atolls and all this kind of thing. So the bonus is based on a detail of the war plan that was described. But note that it's a logistics value of 10. So I can activate 11 units with this card. Okay, and I'll show you how that's good to do. And then we have a NEHQ, but what's cool is we have a logistics value of 6, but we get to use railroad guns, and we do have a railroad gun in the game. The problem we've got is that the Philippines is cut off. So what I would do in this particular situation is I would open up with let's open up with long range guns. So the Americans have to play a card, and what we wouldn't see if we're playing. Hang on. I gotta get the you guys are in the way of the X, so now that's gone. The Japanese would draw 1 card at this point because they're gonna play this one, and their card is, oh, this is kind of fun. We'll do that as an event. That'll be a good next play. So what I would do with this card, so now let's go this way for the strategic display. So what we want to do is we want to start, the Americans have, think of the newspapers, right? Oh, let me turn off the ZOI thing. It gets silly here. Okay, so what we need to do is the Americans have been secretly attacked. They're upset, and now we're responding. So what we can do is we can activate, and there is in the rules. This one HQ reaches everything in here, so you don't have to count or anything. It's just everything in the strategic map is within range of the HQ, no matter where it is. So it's very simple. Oh, and you guys can't see this yet, probably. There you go. Can you see that card now?
Yeah.
Yeah. You only saw the back a second ago, I guess. Right? Is that right?
No, we saw the card.
Oh, when it's like this, you can see the card.
Yeah, it just says hidden card in the bottom
Oh,
right.
oh, because I'm in referee mode. That's why. I'm in referee mode. That's why. If you were playing as in vassal with somebody, they would just see the back of the card.
Right.
They wouldn't see this. Anyway, so I get 7 activations. So what I'm going to do is, and so let's just, I'm going to get some battleships. Let's get some Everybody want to get some battleships? What do you think? And I also want to get the fleet train on the game. 3. Wait. So, well, that may be 4. I don't. Is there another battleship in here? I think there is. Here we go. There's only 4 battleships. That's 6, and I want to bring the army unit forward. Okay, so so you see 6 + 1 is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And ground units, when they go here, are moving. So basically, these guys, if I just stack them up, are all going to be activated. And they're all going to move one of the OC. It's a 2 OC, so I get to move these guys. So if I was on this map here, like if I was here, with a 2OC, I could go 1 box, 2 boxes because of the 2. But because I'm starting from here, I get on the map in 1, and then technically I have 5 more space of move, but there's nothing within range of a Wahoo within 5, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to lose that movement. And we discard the card because there's no battle hexes. There's now post-battle movement. I still get post-battle movement if I wanted to, but again, there's no useful ports for me to go to. So it's just one of those things. But anyway, that's that card. Now the Japanese, I'm going to play the Japanese card, and that could be fun. So the Japanese card is an event card. You'll note that it's a Panama. So we're going to try to close the Panama Canal. We're going to roll the die 0 through 4, the Panama Canal. And by the way, once the canal is damaged, it's closed for the whole game. So this is and then they would draw another card. So we're going to roll the die, and the number 2. So the Panama Canal has been skullduggery has occurred, and the Panama Canal is closed. And if there was any ships here, they would have to go out either that way or that way at this point in time. That's in the rules. And so this is discarded. However, we get to draw another strategy card, which is cool. So, and we got a submarine attack. Oh, that's cool, even better. So we get to see one of those. So now it's the Allied turn. They're going to play this card. And what I want to do is I want to get myself somewhere where I can build a fleet base. And it's in the rules, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate the US fleet train and send it to Midway. And did I have a destroyer anywhere? I need a destroyer. Is there a destroyer? I don't think I have a destroyer. So this guy, sadly, is on his own. But what I can do with this activation, where's that air unit? I think it's it. No, that's not it. I'm hunting for a unit here in that areas. I have a carrier here, I believe. Isn't one of these guys a carrier? No, I didn't bring a carrier. All right, doesn't matter. Let's assume that I was playing better. And I think there's a carrier here. Yeah, I would have brought a carrier instead of this cruiser. Yeah, so we'll put him back. I would have brought him. And the reason I'm doing this, oh, here he is, the Lexington, is I can activate the Lexington. The Lexington can carry this air unit forward to here and launch him. So I can at least get air cover on that location. He goes back. I could go 15 hexes, but I don't want to risk anything at this point in time. I got to get my fleet forward. So we'll just discard. We don't do much with this card. That just happens sometimes. If I thought about it, I could probably do more, but that's not the point right here. I just want to show you some things. And now, because we activated something, the Japanese go, oh, wait a minute, you move some naval units. So I am going to play a submarine card, and we're going to shoot torpedoes at that carrier, and we hit it. So on top of everything else, the Lexington took a torpedo hit because of this submarine, and the Japanese draw another card. And there's a maximum of 3 cards. Now, whoops, hang on. And the Japanese now still play, the Americans are done, and the Japanese play the last card of this round, and they get 2 air replacements, Circle 1 plan, which was a budget plan from this period. So the Japanese are going to get 2 air replacements, which are very, very useful over the course of this game, because you don't get them any other way. So they end up with 2 air replacements, and we have finished the first turn of the game. Any questions?
So you couldn't move naval units from Oahu onto the fleet train because it needs to flip or something into.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. I can only end up in a port. Midway is not a port. You see, it's only an air base. But by next turn, because the fleet base is here, I can start the process of turning Midway into a fleet base. And then once it's a port, I can start to use this as my launch point for other offensives.
And why were you looking for destroyers to accompany it?
Oh, the rules are that you can stop the fleet train. You're allowed in this game where there's an air base, you can use it. The fleet train can stop with a destroyer. that's the most you could like base there when you don't have a port. So, and unfortunately for the Americans in this period, the only destroyers they have need to be mobilized. See the Farragut? The Americans, and all these destroyers were, this is a period of time when we were at peace. And one of the deficiencies is all of our light ships, the ASW ships and all that, were mothballed. And in fact, let's just look at a couple of cards. Let's see if we can get a couple of cards. That's always fun. So we'll draw 5. Let's see. Army Air, Guam Defense, Seaplane Tenders. Okay, let's take that back. Let's try for another 5 cards. We got a floating dry dock for naval replacements. There's Bataan, Army Air. There's another, you can see there's another war plan card, 03. Oh, this one, by the way, is a very cool card. One of the early war plans, and you can see the picture. This is actually from, you see the picture? They planned on just, if the war of the Philippines came, they were just going to sail the whole fleet straight across the Pacific and landed in Manila. That was this war plan. And that's why you get this -4 defense strength, because the fleet's going to be pretty worn out traveling without any intermittent base. It was like a long range shot to get them there real quick. This was one of the earlier war plans that they got rid of it because they didn't like it. Let me see. I'm looking for a particular. No, you can see, like I said, there's some really, the cards are very fun. And if you have a game, there's War Plan 34. We had that one. Let's try again. Naval War College Wargaming. That's what the wargaming room that I was in looked like back in the day. And there's War Plan 29. Fleet. Now this is a particularly good war plan because the fleet base immediately could create it. If I were to draw this one in the next hand like I just did here, I can immediately make that base. Midway would immediately turn into a port, which is a really great, surprise for the Japanese in this game. And let's do one more. We got there's a U.S. submarine attack. This is just fun. Let me see. There's a mobilization here. There are mobilization cards. They're resource cards. You see this one? By playing this card, you get mobilization points starting with turn 3. But if you play this card, you can start getting the army brigades mobilized in the game. So that's what I was looking for. And there's one, by the way, for the mothball destroyer one. Get that destroyer unit back real fast. Let's see if I can find it. There's that card again. And like I said, we can do this all day. But and there's the card I was looking for. So there is a mothball ships mobilization to get cruisers and destroyers quickly fixed up, army air replacements. So the United States is trying to wake up their military as part of this game. You get to feel that situation. So that's about all I got. Any questions? So 2 seconds on what'll happen. If any of you guys, I'm hoping you guys will all want to play. Hey, Harold, what I'm going to do in the event, Harold, and I'll write this all up and send it to you so you don't have to remember anything, although it will be on record. Whoever plays against me will be the Japanese, and I would ask them to come with their, first 2 card plan, which will make things go a bit. They can immediately start playing. They don't have to wait for me. The only concession I'll take is I'll draw my 2 cards at that time so I can kind of keep track of what I might do in each game to speed it along, but that will not affect what they're doing in any way, shape, or form. And we'll play it out from there. And I'll put out, I'll put all this out in writing. So that's what I got. Any final questions, guys?
No questions. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, good, Dennis. We'll look forward to seeing you in the game.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks so much, Mark. Really appreciate the intro to it.
Oh, my pleasure. I forgot how fond I am of this particular scenario. I hadn't played it literally in years. I've been busy with, you've seen what I've been doing with all the other stuff I've been doing, but it was fun to spend yesterday, like rereading the rules. And I kept going like, something's wrong here. And I had to go, oh, there's that, just getting my mind back into it. So anyway, fun stuff. And, we'll have a blast, and playing Plan Orange where they played Plan Orange, I think is really the cool, we'll get some good pictures of that, right, Harold?
Yes, absolutely.
Seemed like the game to play there.
It does. And I think there's a lot of interest for that reason, Mark. So thanks for taking the time to spend with us. And, I've got you scheduled for a 3 or 4 hour block.
Good.
and depending on the demand, then we'll set aside space. If anybody wants to play, for sure, bring your own copy of Plan Orange. We'll have a couple there, but you know, if you
Yeah.
really want to get in.
I have one. Now, the good news is that if you don't have, and Roger still has copies, I think. So if you don't have a copy, you could certainly call up, dial up Roger. He'll be happy to get you one. And the rules are online. So just print out yourself a copy of the game, and Vassal, especially if you're going to go buy one anyway, just get the Vassal set with the rules, and you can immediately, and by the way, Praddock, wherever you are, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot like that, but you obviously knew the game. But again, you guys will get an opportunity to, as soon as you get into the game, you can immediately start attacking, which is fun. So it's really fun. It's just fun to do a perfect plan for the Japanese, with these two cards, and that was part of my hope. And also note that there's this Shanghai crisis thing going on. It's all in the rules, but you might want to look at a little bit of like how the Japanese resolve that, and what happens if they don't, because that basically, Shanghai remains a base open to the Allies. So sometimes I have sailed the U.S. fleet into Shanghai early in the game, and the Japanese all of a sudden got big fleet sitting behind them. It can be pretty exciting. So there are reasons to deal with this. And like I said, for the Americans to win, they're going to have, once Manila falls, the Philippines will surrender, and it'll just be one of those things. And by the way, the biggest problem right now is there's no air power. This is all cut off. But if you can somehow get air power or a carrier into here and get these guys activated, you can counterattack. I mean, there's all sorts of cool things you can do in the game if the Japanese give you an opportunity. And of course, Guam hasn't fallen yet, and that's not a victory condition, but it is necessary for the if the Americans can get a base, they can build two bases. But if I build a base in Midway, right, that's what I'm trying to do here, then all of a sudden Guam is only 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13 away. And so now all of a sudden I can start to support Guam. So the biggest decision for the Americans, or the Americans, is where you put that first fleet base, and I usually choose Midway. But there's things the Japanese can do about that also. They can immediately launch a long-range attack, and all sorts of crazy stuff can happen. Sinking the fleet train is a good thing for the Japanese. It slows things down for the Americans. And the other opportunity is to get one of the, any we talk is a big favorite for people, but that's right in the midst of the Japanese situation. So that can be, and again, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And again, remember I told you that the value of the card 1, 2, or 3, if I'm 10 away and you're 15 away, I can attack any we talk and the Japanese can't react. That's why I moved a bunch of stuff into Saipan. Yeah, so that again goes on and on.
Good. All right, very well. Thanks, Mark. Look forward to seeing you in Newport in August.
Yeah, and I hope you will enjoy meeting Claire. She's I'm gonna go play with her some more.
That was a treat.